There is huge breaking news right now. Apparently, President Trump has kicked Zelensky out of the White House after their explosive Oval Office meeting earlier today. According to Philip Wegman, a journalist for Real Clear Politics, Trump appears to have kicked Zelensky out of the White House. His motorcade is pulling up to the West Wing right now. So a lot of commentators, a lot of content creators and channels are probably going to be playing the explosive part of their Oval Office meeting on loop, which I'll get to that. But I think it's important to understand what led to this moment. So I'm going to show you the context in which this happened and show you the buildup to everyone shouting at each other. So Zelensky went to the White House today to do two things. Number one, there was the mineral deal. And number two, they were going to negotiate further on U.S. and NATO support for Ukraine. Those were two separate things. They were going to sign the mineral deal first, have lunch, and then work on negotiations. You can see this based on Google News results. Take a look at CNN. Trump meets Zelensky at the White House for minerals deal and security talks. And then Axios, right under that, is Zelensky meets Trump for U.S.-Ukraine mineral deal signing. Well, because of the Oval Office explosion, where everyone is shouting at each other, those headlines have now been updated. So you saw those initial headlines referencing the mineral deal. Well, if you go to those pages now, they read Trump and Zelensky meeting devolves into shouting match over Ukraine war. And then Axios, you're gambling with World War III. Trump and Zelensky get heated in Oval Office. Again, it is really important to understand that this Oval Office meeting, because again, two meetings, the Oval Office meeting was open to the press. It was supposed to be celebrating the mineral deal that both nations came to, and then they were going to have lunch, and then they were going to have a private meeting with negotiations without the press present. That is very important to understand the context in which this happened. And in fact, during this Oval Office meeting, Donald Trump himself referenced the mineral deal, taking a break for lunch and then resuming negotiations. Here's a look at that.
Your soldiers have been unbelievably brave. We've given them great equipment, but somebody has to use the equipment. They've been unbelievably brave, and we give them great credit. This was supposed to be over very quickly, and here we are 3 years later. So I give tremendous credit to your generals and your soldiers and yourself in the sense that it's been very hard fighting, very tough fighting. They're great fighters, and you have to be very proud of them from that standpoint. But now we want to get it over with. It's enough, right? We want to get it over with. So it's an honor to have you here. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to sign the agreement at the conference in the East Room in a little while, right after lunch. And we'll be having lunch together. We're also discussing some other things, and we appreciate everybody being here. It's somewhat of an exciting moment, but the really exciting moment is when they stop the shooting or we end up with a deal. And I think we're fairly close to getting that, and an honor to have you.
So there you heard Trump talk about two exciting moments. The first exciting moment, obviously, being the mineral deal, which they're about to sign. And then he follows that up with the really exciting moment is when the shooting stops, the negotiations that will hopefully bring the war to an end. And after this moment, the media actually started asking questions. And the questions, predictably, because of the topic of discussion, were about the mineral deal. So again, I'm just trying to set the stage for what this was supposed to be about. Take a look.
With how much money is the U.S. going to put into the fund that is being created today, and how does this provide long-term security for Ukraine?
Well, we don't know exactly how much because we're going to be putting some money in a fund that we're going to get from the raw earth that we're going to be taking and sharing in terms of revenue. So it's going to be a lot of money will be made from the sale and from the use of raw earth. And as you know, our country doesn't have much raw earth. We have a lot of oil and gas. But we don't have a lot of the raw earth. And what we do have is protected by the environmentalists, but that can be unprotected. But still, it's not very much. They have among the best in the world in terms of raw earth. So we're going to be using that, using it for all of the things we do, including AI and including weapons and the military. And it's really going to very much satisfy our needs. So it was something that just worked out really well. We have a lot of oil and we have a lot of gas. We have a lot, but we don't have raw earth. So this has just about every component of the raw earth that we need for computers, for all of the things we do. This puts us in great shape.
So again, I can't overemphasize enough how much Trump is talking about the mineral deal. And then also, I want to point out he's looking directly at the reporter, right? Because they've announced this mineral deal, they're about to sign it, and the press is asking questions about it. So he's looking at the reporter to answer their questions about the mineral deal. And of course, the press is going to do what the press does. They have questions about a whole bunch of other topics, but every time they ask a question, you'll notice Trump and J.D. Vance, who was also there, they look directly at the press to answer their questions. Here's another question, just to prove the point.
I hope I'm going to be remembered as a peacemaker. This would be a great thing if we could do this. I'm doing this to save lives more than anything else. Second is to save a lot of money, but I consider that to be far less important. So I hope I'm going to thank you, Brian, for that question. It was a nice question. I hope I'll be known and recognized as a peacemaker. This would be a great thing to solve. This is a very dangerous situation. You know, this could lead to a third world war. This was headed in the wrong direction. If this election were lost, if we didn't win this election, and by the way, we won it by a lot. That was a mandate. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. We won everything. The districts, you look at the areas of red, take a look at a map. This was a big mandate, and this was one of the things. I said, we're going to get this thing settled. If we didn't win, I think this could have very well ended up in a third world war.
So all of that leads to the next moment. They're celebrating the mineral deal. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance are answering questions that the press is asking. Zelensky was also answering questions as well. But then here comes this moment. J.D. Vance is wrapping up an answer to a question which the press asked, and Zelensky decides to push back on J.D. Vance's answer. He decides to debate with J.D. Vance. So again, that's why I'm talking about the eye lines. I know that seems like a silly little thing, but they're celebrating the mineral deal. They're answering questions from the press. They're looking at the press. And then Zelensky decides, instead of the negotiation that they're supposed to have after lunch, he's like, well, I'm going to start negotiating right now while the media is present. So you'll notice Zelensky doesn't look at the media. He looks straight at J.D. Vance and tries to push back. He tries to argue. He tries to debate.
For 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the president of the United States' words mattered more than the president of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, parts of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014.
2014 is when
2014?
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. That people are been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him. Me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
Now, I know I had a lot of build-up leading up to that moment, but the reason is because I don't think you're going to get this from other content creators. I don't think you're going to get this from other analysts or commentators or even network TV. And by the way, if you like what I'm showing you, if you like my perspective, and if you like these deep dives, please be sure to hit that subscribe button because I'd like to think that that's what value my channel offers here. But again, I know I'm really beating this horse, but the reason I'm doing it is because the Democrats, left-wing content creators, pundits, they're all claiming already, I'm seeing it all over the internet, that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance ambushed Zelensky, or Donald Trump, J.D. Vance are taking Putin's side. But if you take a look at the context of what happened, that's not it at all. Again, there were two moments here: the mineral deal, lunch, and then negotiations. They were supposed to be signing this great coming together, this great agreement of the two countries. And then they were answering questions that the press was asking. And then Zelensky decided to turn this into a moment. He was the one that ambushed our leadership. He was the one who, in front of the media, decided to, hey, I actually want to start debating now. I want to start arguing. I want to put you on the spot, on the record. Because when it comes to war, there are so many factors. It's not just boots on the ground. It's not just weapons, but there's also political willpower here. And my theory is that maybe Zelensky was trying to earn political goodwill, maybe either in Europe or here even in the States, by putting Trump and Vance on the spot. But Vance and Trump are not two people you want to put on the spot, because they will push back. And here's what happened.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
By the way, I hate to interrupt, but the propaganda tour is 100% true. Thanks to the USAID leaks, we know that celebrities, I made a previous video on this. It was actually the video that YouTube took down because of misinformation. Long story in case anyone's new, but we know that celebrities were paid millions of dollars to go to Ukraine or to post in support of Ukraine online.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this.
I'm not dictating.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war,
you're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards.
Playing cards.
But right now, you don't. Yeah, you're playing cards.
Mr. President.
You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of times.
No, in this
even
entire
today.
Meeting, you said thank you.
Even today.
You went to
now, before I show you the rest of that clip, because I have a different angle that actually has a better audio of Zelensky's response. So the next moments, I'm actually going to split to two different clips so you can get different viewpoints, because I also want to show you the face of the Ukrainian ambassador. She was, she was humiliated. She looked like she was on the verge of tears. But Donald Trump is exactly right there, because when it comes to war, you have to have an off-ramp, right? Because if there's no off-ramp, if there's no way to de-escalate, then all you have is escalation. Because if you think about what's happening in Ukraine, they only have so much manpower. The support that they're getting from NATO, from the United States and other countries in Europe is basically financial backing as well as weapons. But once Ukraine runs out of manpower, what happens then? Well, Russia can either come in and take more, or NATO, Europe, the United States are actually going to have to put boots on the ground. You have to think, when it comes to wargaming things out, not just 1 or 2 steps ahead, but 100 steps ahead, and then all the different variations, all the different possibilities of what can happen here. And that's why off-ramps are so important, and that's what Trump is looking to do before this thing escalates. And then you see Zelensky essentially threatening the United States of what we're going to feel, even though there's an ocean, and that really set Trump off. But in the next moment, J.D. Vance actually brings up Zelensky's visit to Pennsylvania, which to a lot of people appeared like a campaign donation to Kamala Harris. His visit to Pennsylvania to the White House was actually taxpayer funded as well, and so that drew a lot of controversy. The GOP and the House launched an investigation, and there were a lot of complaints about it. So that's why I wanted to split to this angle, because you can really hear Zelensky's response, and he attempts to play dumb. He acts as if he has no idea what J.D. Vance is talking about.
He should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of times.
No, in this
Even
entire
today.
meeting, you said thank you.
Even today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
So as you heard there, he says, what are you speaking about? Well, I pulled up what exactly J.D. Vance is speaking about. According to NBC News, Zelensky's meeting with Harris and spat with Trump reveal a growing partisan divide on Ukraine. So Zelensky met with Kamala Harris in the White House, and this was during the same taxpayer-funded trip when he visited Pennsylvania. Again, from the same article, the partisan divide appeared to grow this week after Zelensky visited a munitions factory in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Biden's hometown, which Trump and other Republicans viewed as a signal of which way he wants the November election to go. He signed the missiles there. You probably saw that, and there was a lot of press basically really trying to tilt the election in Kamala Harris's favor, and the legacy media used that visit as an example and a reason of why voters should have backed Kamala Harris. So here is a longer version of that clip, and you'll notice the camera panning around. Again, this is a different angle, but I want you to pay attention. So it's going to go to a woman who's sitting down, and you'll see her put her hand to her face like this. That is the Ukrainian ambassador, and as Zelensky is talking, you can tell she's just so uncomfortable. She doesn't want to be there, and to my eyes, it looked like she was on the verge of tears.
Even today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a minute.
answer?
No, you've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this.
I
You have a damn good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment.
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
Again,
I tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of
Except
times
that there-
thank you
except
to
that-
American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't, please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting
Of
killed.
course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire?
But I said to you,
I want a
with
ceasefire.
guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what-
That
what
wasn't
this
with me.
means. It
That was
wasn't
with
with you.
a guy named Biden who was not a smart person. That was
This
with
is your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me, that was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is, Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question.
Yeah, I think that entire exchange was just mind-boggling. I never thought we would see that tense of an exchange happening in the Oval Office, and that's why I wanted to create this video, because again, I think the media, the Democrats, and online influencers are going to try to spin this as Donald Trump and JD Vance ambushing and trying to humiliate Zelensky, but that's not what happened at all. As you can see from the way this is laid out from the very beginning, taking a look at the full context, which is why I tried to be as transparent as possible about today's schedule, about how exactly this unfolded. To me, it looked like Zelensky provoked this entire situation. Do you agree? Do you disagree? It's okay if you disagree. If you saw something else, or if you interpreted it another way, let me know down in the comments below. But that's, to me, that's my analysis of the situation. It was Zelensky who provoked this and really stepped on a rake. Really hurt his odds and hurt his own negotiations. He should have waited for the private negotiations to air his concerns instead of trying to get a gotcha moment with JD Vance and Donald Trump in front of the media. That's just not a good look. And then even when JD Vance was saying, "Hey, why don't you say thankful? Haven't you said thank you?" Well, Zelensky was saying, "I've said thank you many times," but he didn't say thank you in that moment. Look, if I, just as an analogy, if I was on the verge of bankruptcy and I was pleading with a friend to loan me money or just to give me money, you know, and they had that same concern to me, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I appreciate it." I wouldn't stop. Because if you're the one in need, you know, as they say, beggars can't be choosers. And it's like, it's not about bending the knee. It's not about worshiping someone else. It's just showing gratitude to a nation. It's about being thankful to a nation that has given you hundreds of billions of dollars to fight a war that doesn't affect us, that has nothing to do with us. But instead, Zelensky chose to attempt to humiliate Trump and Vance, and, well, that backfired on him. The Democrats can live in a state of denial about what happened during this Oval Office meeting, but I prefer to live in the state of Daniel. And if you do too, please be sure to subscribe. Again, if you caught something else, if you have a different perspective, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This news is hot off the press, so if there's something I missed or if you have any other insights, please let me know down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.